to Open to Connect today, and I am so excited for the guests that we have. I have Joy, the joyful recruiter, and one of the I'll never forget when your name like scrolled past me on LinkedIn, and I was just, I need to know this person.
Oh,
She's
thank you.
actually got joy in her title, and then I always get giddy when people who when I see something like Joy, the joyful recruiter, and then you accept the request, and then you agree to be on a show. It's like this delightful thing for me. So thank you for being here and welcome.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
I would love for people to just know a little bit about you. Like what do you do? How do you help people? All of those things.
Yeah, so I am an LA native, born and raised, but professionally, I am a tech industry lead recruiter specializing in B2B sales hiring. I am also the founder of Joyful Talent Solutions, and that is a career empowerment and talent advisory brand. So, the goal is to build business around coaching, speaking, and creating resources to help professionals, all types of professionals, but I'd say especially those from underrepresented backgrounds, so they can claim their value and thrive.
I love that, and I love that we can be here to help amplify voices as well. And yes, exciting. Okay, let's get into some of the meat of the topic. We promised a lot of things. Oh, like we're getting some greetings already. So thank you all for being in the audience. I hope this. I know this will be an amazing conversation. So I talk about layoffs, and you had a layoff story of your own. I would love to hear. Just tell what happened. Did you even know it was coming? Any of those aspects of your
Yeah.
background?
Jacqueline. Actually, I have two. So the first one was during the Great Recession. I worked at a company for 3 years. Honestly, I didn't love the job, but it still hurt a little bit because I wasn't expecting it. And it took me 15 months to find my next job. A lot of that had to do with the fact that at the time I did not have a college degree,
Mm.
and that was the determining factor at the time, whether or not they would hire someone. I know for sure I missed out on opportunities because of that. But I was going to go work retail, I was going to go sell cars. And after 15 months, someone took a chance on me. He knows who he is, great person. And that actually led me to my next job that I had for 10 years, and I was laid off from there in 2020. I received 2 week
Mm.
notice. It was because of the pandemic. Honestly, I think they panicked, but you know what? I always have that song in my head by Ariana Grande. Thank you. Next, I'm not a singer, so I'm not going to sing, but it was the best thing that happened to my career. Professionally and financially. So thank you, former employer, for laying me off in 2020.
I can relate to that since I just went through a layoff in May myself, and I'm doing this right here because it's asking those questions. What if I dare to do something different than just jump right back into job searching? So I love that perspective so much on yes, like maybe I tell people a lot, maybe these setbacks are the actual great best things to happen for you, even though in the trenches it's kind of really, really tough. So what are some lessons you learned during that layoff period?
Yeah, great question. So, I learned don't settle, because the first job I was offered, it was someone I kind of had known professionally. This person wanted me to come into the office that was on the other side of town. Keep in mind that I worked remotely for 10 years, wanted to pay me a lot less. And I could have panicked because that was the pandemic. Things were so unpredictable. But I realized I didn't have to settle, and I'm so thankful I didn't. Rejection is redirection. There was a job I really wanted, I didn't get, but in the grand scheme of things, it was great. I actually posted about that yesterday. And I also learned the importance of building your own brand, because my question is always, if you are laid off tomorrow, what will your brand be? If you are
Mhm.
posting or promoting your employer's brand. Nothing's wrong with that, especially if you're in sales, if you're in marketing. But if they're not paying you extra to do that, that's not a part of your job requirement. Then you need to build your own brand. And I'd also say move with intention. I felt even though I was gainfully employed for 10 years, I was still coasting. I wasn't moving with intention. So now I definitely move with intention.
Yeah, I had an example when I first started using LinkedIn. I found some people who were building, we were all kind of started together. So we're going to do this thing together. And to your point, the people, I'm kind of like, I like to post about what I find interesting. And I think everything is interesting. And for a long time, that's what I was doing. And then I checked in on the people that I started with, and their accounts and network had exponentially grown because they stuck to the one thing that they talk about. And it was really a big lesson on what does that look like to be your brand and
Mhm.
to lean into it without straying all over the place, even if it's fun, right? There are other platforms where you can be fun and do those things, but it may not be on a professional one.
Right, exactly. I'd say
Yeah,
there are so many different ways to build your brand nowadays. I wish this technology was around years ago, but
right.
no time like the present. I mean, even my logo, I helped build AI helped me build that. So,
All right, so let's get into even some of the more. I have a lot of job seekers in that are probably watching this, and will watch it throughout the after we post it. And they're in the middle of this layoff, and they're in the middle of this job market. What are you seeing in this job market right now? I would love to hear that from a recruiter's perspective, since I hear a lot of it from the candidate side.
so I'm sure the candidates will agree with me. It's highly competitive. That's just the truth. I always say people should apply for jobs, but recruiters are getting hundreds, if not thousands, of applications, and that's not even an exaggeration. So it is very competitive right now. Um, Employers are hiring
Mhm,
because I also work full time as a lead talent acquisition advisor. And I thought I would have a break this summer, but I have been so busy. So companies are definitely hiring. So that is a good thing.
mhm,
And I'd always say, I mean, this is something that's always the case, but just remember soft skills, adaptability, resilience, and emotional intelligence.
mhm.
They are crucial, just as crucial as technical skills.
Nice. Gosh, I could ask, we could have a whole nother podcast just on that answer right there. But I would love to know what you see working for candidates. I know a lot of people are just, people won't even answer my messages. I'm hearing nothing. So what's getting your attention as a recruiter and working for them?
So, this is what I'll say. Again, I always encourage people to apply for jobs because you should apply. If you're applying to a corporation, you will need to be in their system to move through the job process. So, definitely apply. However, I know there is a lot of noise and advice out there about, oh, yeah, go ahead and apply for every job. Don't do that. Please don't. If you're not qualified for the job, don't apply for it. Now, if you have transferable skills and you are able to market yourself in a way where those transferable skills fit that job, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But recruiters are overwhelmed. Recruiters get a bad rap, rightfully so sometimes. But I would say contact recruiters, build your network, because this is what people don't realize. You need to plant seeds when you're employed. Life is
Mhm.
unpredictable. Start building those relationships now. Don't wait until you're unemployed and it's like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I'm going to hit up all the recruiters on LinkedIn and throw the pasta against the wall and see what sticks. No, don't do that. Do not do that. Start having those conversations now. Now, some recruiters, they will not give you the time of day because I'm I'm just being 100% authentic right now. A lot of recruiters will not give you the time of day because a lot of them only are reactive and not proactive. They only need you when they're going to fill a position because a lot of us just don't have time to have conversations. However, there are certain recruiters like me. When I have time, when someone sends me a very compelling message that they put some effort into, not just generated by AI, but they actually put some effort into composing, and they ask if I'll have a conversation with them. Sometimes I will. So,
Yeah, well, especially you're talking about hundreds, if not 1,000
mhm.
applications per job, and I used to say, and then I'm not full-time employed anymore, but my heart is big, but my time is small, and, if I'm only gonna be on LinkedIn for 15 or 20 minutes, then sometimes it's just catching up on post or, like, forget the big ask, right? If somebody's like, "Can you review my resume and have a 15-minute coffee chat?" I'm like, "You just stressed me out because I'm losing my mind at work."
Exactly. I that feeling resonates with me at times.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's exactly unfortunately I had to tell someone the other day, "No, I'm really sorry. I can't speak with you because I am not working on anything in your area. However, please reach out to this person." And I
Mhm.
even responded back to them yesterday and told them, "Hey, reach out to him. He's working on a position in your area." So I always try to help where I can, but one thing people need to realize, recruiters don't owe you their time. Just
Mm.
because they're a recruiter, that does not mean they are your personal agent, or they're out there just to find you a job, or they're not your personal
Mhm.
headhunter. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I love that. It's often a I can't even think of the word right now, but I told you my
Misconception.
brain was a little yes, thank you.
Misconception.
I also love that you talked about building networks before you need it. I literally
Mhm.
that is my niche, is to tell people, and I saw it so much with my coworkers before the layoff. Is I'm like, look, you need to be on LinkedIn now. The job market is really, really tough, and even if you think you're safe, it we are all line items on a company, and
Exactly.
if you need that network you can leverage for today. So you kind of answered already. I was going to ask you how you view professional networking. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Or I think you covered it, but I want to make sure.
I I love networking, and I live in those LinkedIn streets. Um, I do have an auto message because I can't respond to everyone, but I try. But yeah, networking is great because this is what I'll say. All of all of us are on borrowed time when it comes to working for an employer. And so if I have this misfortune of being laid off. Hey, doggy.
Yeah, they're the worst. They're the worst. This is I'm like, dogs, knock it off.
I
I'm so
will.
sorry. Anyway, that's the nature of life. I say that at least once every live I do, is that's the nature of life because there's something
Hey,
that
kids, dogs, whatever. I've been working from home for 15 years, so um, so I get it.
yeah.
But yeah, I'll just say, I mean, if I am laid off tomorrow on Friday, I will probably become Joy the Joyful career coach, or Joy the Joyful brand ambassador, something.
Mhm.
I definitely have a backup plan. So the
Mhm.
reason why I do have that backup plan, because I network and I know
Yes.
people, and I love having conversations with people.
That is literally I knew I had a plan A, B, and C, and it's like right now I'm executing each of those steps, and some of it goes great, some of it doesn't, but, I had it in place, and I think people should pause and ask, "I'm gainfully employed, I'm happy in my job. What if that's not here tomorrow?" So I thank you for pointing that out. Um, I get so many job seekers that say, "I don't know how to stand out. I'm reaching out. I'm doing all these things that people say to do, and I don't feel like I'm getting noticed." Do you have any um, clear steps that you would have them do?
I think this is what I'll say. Yes. I mean, One thing, and I just want to make this clear. I am not here to tell someone, oh, you need to become an influencer to get your next job.
Right.
Oh, you need to do all these gymnastics or jump through all these hoops to impress a recruiter or a hiring manager. However, there are little things you can do. If you do your research, and I'd say you send a compelling message. Now, again, there are recruiters, they will not respond to you. Even sometimes, and I experienced this personally. 5 years ago, there were recruiters posting recruiter jobs that I qualified for. I reached out to them, crickets. So, again, some recruiters earn their reputations. But every now and then I'll get a message from somebody that they put a little bit of a personal touch in it. Not that I'm looking for flattery, but if you show me that you actually read my profile and you're just not sending me, I can't tell you if I had $1 for every message I got from people who work in fields that I don't remotely touch, asking me to help them find a job, I could have retired yesterday.
Yes.
So I'd say move with intention. Do a little bit of research. If you're reaching out to me about a procurement job, I can't help you with that. I don't recruit in procurement.
You wouldn't know what the acronyms even stood for, right?
Actually, I do.
Okay, there you go. Good. I would like sometimes
now.
people will send me stuff and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I just say be intentional and do a little bit of research before contacting a recruiter or a hiring manager.
I think that is so important because when I was with Microsoft, people would see manager in my title and think I had a team, and I was an individual contributor. So it was, I don't want to say the word presumptuous. That's not it. You could just tell it's like the same thing with people saying, I see you're a military veteran and I help blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, actually, I'm not a military spouse. And that's why military is in my keywords. And you didn't read my profile and it's obvious. And it's so important, particularly I think with target companies, if you have individuals that you're like, I gamify a lot where I'm like, what would be fun is that they just answered me on the post, not even in the inbox. Can I just get this high profile person to come back and chime in on what I said and make it fun? Because if you're not going to get the answer anyway, why not just try like to see if you can? Anyway, I guess yeah. Anyway, that brings me to my next question. And I did a poll once on LinkedIn that was, why don't you post or interact on LinkedIn? And the top 2 responses were they didn't think they had anything to add to the conversation, or they were afraid to do that, or afraid to post. So I love to speak to fear in people. I think sometimes that is the thing that really is getting in the way of so many aspects of our lives, not just job search. I would love to hear your fear advice. I think that's my favorite thing to ask people who come on this podcast is, what is your take on fear?
So I'll start by saying fear holds you back more than rejection ever will. But I understand that. So I have a great story about this. So this was probably in 2020, 2021, where a lot of people still were not working, pandemic days. So I would join a lot of webinars, and some of them have breakout rooms. And I was in a breakout room because keep in mind, I've been on LinkedIn. I'm not going to even say how long I've been on LinkedIn or how long I've had that account. It's been a while, but I only used it. It was very transactional. I didn't even have LinkedIn Recruiter. I would just, in my old job, I would just reach out to people and be like, hey, you want to connect with me? Because I want to talk to you about this job. And that was it. So I started seeing people writing content, and I said to someone, or said in the breakout room, I know a lot of things, but I don't know everything. What would I post about? And this young woman, I think she had just wrapped up her master's, or her, it might have been her undergrad. She's like, that's what you post. And of course,
Yes.
you know, I mean, it is a little daunting sometimes to post on LinkedIn. I mean, I have a good following, but at the same time, I have not mastered the algorithm.
Oh,
And yes, there is a formula and all these things. That's another conversation. But hey, every time I post, I'm like, will anyone like it? Will anyone see this? But what has worked for me is just really speaking authentically, speaking about topics that people care about, um, and also having a certain lane that you're in. There are
mhm,
other topics I'm very passionate about, but I let others talk about that. I
mhm.
stick to what I know and what I know my audience is looking for, because at the same time, it can't be self-indulgent,
Okay.
because if you're only posting for you, then all right, keep doing that, but you're not going to get an audience. Your material needs to be relatable.
Mhm. I love that so much, and so a lot of people don't even mentor because they're like, I don't have anything to add, and what you just talked about is, post about that. I advise people, talk to yourself a year ago. Where were you? What trials were you facing? What are you in? And then if they're in school, what projects are you doing? And like all of us are an expert at something compared to the person who's never done it, right? So we can build that thing that we love talking about nonstop. For me, it's connection, stories of connection, people, and how they navigated things. And obviously, I'm doing this because it's like, okay, they're interesting. Got to do this one. Look at. I'm like, why does she even have joy in her title? Just it's because that's a curiosity to get to know people, and I love it. Stay in your lane and let the people who are great at the other things talk about the things that they're great at. That was actually just a lesson right to me too, because I do get excited about so many topics, and I'm like, look at this thing I just learned. Now I have to teach somebody, but it's probably not an area that I actually have learned. I've learned more than the person who's never done it. Like, I'll just say that. And you talked about a lot of like what got you started in building content. How did you? I guess it's almost more like how did you know your lane? Like what got you? Like what did I? Was it seeing other people that inspired you doing it, or were you just like, no, I have to do this thing because I have to do this thing? I would love to know what inspired you to start that content creation.
Oh, I was definitely inspired by other people, because what I noticed, again, 2020, after a while, I realized, okay, there's only so many news reports I can watch. Um, there's only so many YouTube videos I can watch. And I was going down the YouTube rabbit hole, watching commercials for hours that were from my childhood. Just like all right, you need to do something
Mhm.
constructive. So what I first noticed, people, entry level, mid level, senior level people, a lot of them who look just like me were talking about their experiences.
Mhm.
Some of it had to do with biases and injustice,
Mhm.
but a lot of it was just about just their experience working in corporate. A lot of things I saw at first was about human resources, working in
Mhm.
HR, working in recruiting, and also sales. And so one of the first posts I think I wrote, that I'm not going to say it went viral, but I probably got several hundred likes. It was about ghosting. And I think this was in 2021. It was something about, okay, we already told you in 2020 to stop ghosting candidates, do better, recruiters, or something along those lines. And so I just started writing. Now, LinkedIn, there is a formula to it. Again, that's a whole other
Mhm.
call. That's something that, I could probably monetize on. Even, yeah, I could. There are people doing that. But one thing I will say, a tip, it will be consistency. You have to be
Mhm.
consistent with LinkedIn. It rewards you if you're consistent. Where I remember I got the most attention was, I believe, around the holidays in late 2023 or 2022. I can't even remember. But just some of the things I was writing, I was literally getting thousands of likes.
Wow.
And one thing I've been transparent about, once I felt comfortable talking about it, was my breast cancer diagnosis.
Mhm.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in February of 2024. However, I did not share that until the first day of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so I have talked about my struggles, and some, of course, there are those who might think, well, this belongs on Facebook. Well,
Whatever.
your parents are on Facebook, okay? So it belongs wherever I want to talk about it,
Mhm.
because it really relates to me professionally. I
Mhm.
mean, having an illness really affects your professional life.
Mhm.
So a lot of things I'd say in the last 9 months have been, now, not all my content's about breast cancer, because no one wants to hear about that every single day. But there are certain things that I talk about that I think truly resonate with others.
Mhm. I think people wanna know they're not alone in whatever they're struggling. It may not be breast cancer, which, by the way, I'm very glad you're, here talking with us and survivor and all of that,
Thank you.
trial, but, yeah, people want something they can resonate with in
Mhm.
whatever it is they're going through. In fact, as you were talking, it was in the middle of the pandemic when I started my mentorship live call. I was in this really rough spot where I felt like work felt like doing laundry. It was the same thing every single day, and it never went away, and the pile never got lower, it seemed. And I was like, I have to give back to people, or else
Mhm.
I'm going into a mental space that is not good for me right now. And
Mhm.
like the volunteer stuff that I've been doing at church and all those things it was just gone. So that's where that effort started, and it's still going today. New mentors have come along, and I'm like, wow, that was started out of a negative spot in
Mhm.
my life, not the positive. It wasn't like, I'm gonna wake up and do great things for people. No, I was like, I am in such a negative place myself that I have to do something to get out of it and feel better. And
Oh, I can relate to that too,
Mhm.
Jacqueline. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to find people who have the stories of things I did just in the pandemic that ended up being a life changer for us personally, right? That would be cool. So I know you have joy in your title. Are there specific? Sorry, this is a. I have it written right in front of me, and I
That's
still can't even read. Is there something you want people to know about you that's in addition to the joyful side? Like, what is something that you would, there's the brand that's out front, but then there's the
Yeah.
person behind it, right?
Definitely. Well, this is what I'll say. I'm a very direct person. I like advocating for fairness, and especially in hiring.
Mhm.
And I also want to be relatable to people, because there everyone doesn't follow, not every path is linear, and not everyone is cookie cutter. I have a non-traditional educational background. I just received my bachelor's degree 6 years ago this summer, and it was a great experience for me. My former employer paid for me to go to school, yay, debt free.
Nice.
You know, I also understand not everyone has a college fund at 17 or 18, is going to graduate at 21, 22, 23. And so I talk about that too. Working in corporate, I feel very fortunate to be gainfully employed and also have benefits. However, working in corporate, being a black woman, has not always been the greatest experience for me either.
Mhm.
So I just want to be relatable to people. show a certain level of empathy. I don't consider myself traditionally to be a person of privilege, but if I really sat and thought about it, I'm like, well, I am gainfully employed. I work in the tech industry. So I always try to pay it forward as much as I can.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's like a mantra for me too, is, I may be sitting here in my unemployment, but I sure I'm going to give back while I'm here. So, yeah. And then, I guess a little bit back on the job search. Is there anything that you see candidates are doing that is actually hurting them in this economy?
Yes, there are. Okay. So I'll start with applying to roles that you don't qualify for without tailoring your resume. And I think we kind of covered this
Yeah.
earlier. If you truly have transferable skills, then tailor your resume to indicate that. One thing I've noticed, because I've been a recruiter for a long time, longer than I'll say, the longer the cover letter, the it's unlikely that that person is actually qualified, because they're doing a lot of explaining as to why you need to consider them, and they probably don't really have those skills. So try to apply for jobs you truly uh um qualify for. I know you're going to see a post on LinkedIn or some sort of TikTok content telling you to apply for everything. Don't do that. Again, don't do that.
It's
You're
also
just
stressful
wasting
for
your
you, right? Too.
yeah, you're wasting your time. So, but again, you can focus on your transferable skills. And I know I'm being a little repetitive, but I just truly want to emphasize that. Um, those also who ask for help, I see this a lot on LinkedIn. I understand a lot of times people are going through hard times, and I would think if you are to the point where you are posting your GoFundMe, you really need help.
Mm,
But I will say this too. I notice certain people are always asking for help or asking for someone to give them a job, but they're not really networking. One thing I have found, and not everyone is in this position, but when I was unemployed the last time, I tried to ask people what could I do for them before asking them for favors.
mhm,
And I will say that benefited me, because there was this recruiter, we both had worked for the same company. Now I did not know her, but she had asked me for help with something, and I did it. And literally the day that one of my contract roles ended, she messaged me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, are you looking for a job? You helped me that time. My
mm.
employer is looking to hire a contractor." And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, today's my last day."
Nice.
So, I would say I understand if you are unemployed, sometimes you don't feel you have a lot to give. You are in need, but there's always something you can do to give to others. And also, you should be networking too, building your network and not just asking. Let's see another one. Oh, yeah. Failing to close the recruiter or hiring manager. Closing is not only for salespeople.
Mm,
And one thing I'll say now, I'm indifferent to thank you messages, because no thank you note has ever um encouraged me to send someone to the next round or not. Either they're going or they're not. However, I will say this: hiring managers love receiving thank you notes. Send the thank you email. Send the thank you DM.
mhm,
They eat it up. Do it. It will make you stand out. And then let's see, one more thing I'll say: undervaluing yourself
mm,
and being passive after rejection. A lot of people, and this will be another conversation, Jacqueline, but a lot of people don't know how to negotiate. I find this to be true, especially with women. and sometimes people from underrepresented backgrounds. You
Mhm.
need to learn how to negotiate. I know I'm a recruiter, but I've had to negotiate for myself. And I won't say I have a PhD in in negotiating, but I definitely have a master's degree in it.
Sounds like a great conversation to have in the future. And I love that. And I could even see, and I'm betting, and this is a guess because I'm not a recruiter, that right now in this economy, people are like so thankful to get an offer that they're just like, yes, just give me the job, give me the job. And kind of lose track of, wait a minute, this is still the company is saying yes to you now. Just I
Yeah.
heard a quote once that was really good. It was saying, this will be the last time I ever sit across from you and not on your team rooting for you. And that was for an executive going for like a C-suite thing, but it was just really like, this will be the last time we're at opposing ends with each other, but I need to make sure we hit the right agreement piece. And it was just kind of, it resonated with me. It's like, oh,
Exactly,
right.
because and this is what I try to instill in recruiters, hiring managers, and even candidates. Unemployment, it does not equal desperation.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes people think and they think about, themselves, well, this is my last opportunity. And sometimes it gets to that point. I understand. I am
Mhm.
not dismissing that sometimes someone just needs to take a job to keep a roof over their head, to keep their children fed. But at the same time, there is sometimes this mentality that just because you are unemployed, you deserve less. No, because there's a whole other conversation we could have about this, but
Yes,
I'll save it.
like, self-value is something I actually was trying TikTok live, and I went and, did a whole thing on just confidence yesterday, and I could have
Yes.
kept talking forever because it's something, um, people people just undervalue themselves, and a lot of it I could even see in job search is you hear
Mhm.
no and no and no and no, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, I'm not, it's me, I'm the problem," and that's not what I'm seeing at all right now from the candidates that I have, and people that I mentor. So on that side, is there anything that you see specifically that hiring managers are looking for? Oh, and I did love the part about hiring managers love a thank you note. Thank you for pointing that out because there is a distinction right there. And I remember always making sure I said, I thank you for interviewing me. I loved when we talked about da 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 da, and where I felt the most alive in the interview, I pull that and be like, I could have continued talking about that all day, and just kind of reminding them this was me and this is what we talked about. So um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, they love that. This is what I'll say. Now, I'm going to speak specifically to being a sales recruiter. So this is what I'll say. Uh, and this goes outside the sales, but definitely strong business acumen, adaptability, sales professionals who can handle complex sales cycles, uh, candidates with clear, proven metrics, and someone who is driven to collaborate and provide results, someone who has a lot of drive. Now, again, a lot of this is specific to sales when I say drive, grit, but really this applies to all jobs.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people could um, take a lot of tips from salespeople, how they navigate, how they go after things, how confident they are.
Mhm.
And again, I love when candidates close me. I want to know, why should the hiring team consider you? Because if you can't close me, how are you going to close the hiring manager? And if you're in sales, how are you going to close customers?
Yeah, those are all. So I loved a lot of the points that you were just right. Is the characteristics that that can cross pollinate any area, and making sure you tap into those. So thank you. And we are getting a little bit closer to our time here. Is there anything that you wish I would have asked you about that I just haven't gotten to? Even in chat, I'm saying, oh, we love the second live session on these topics, and we'll have to arrange that for the future.
Oh
But
yeah, absolutely. I would say how to connect with me on social.
There we go.
So I am the Joyful Recruiter on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, and you can also follow Joyful Talent Solutions on LinkedIn and Instagram for exciting upcoming news and resources.
Sure.
So
And
I
then just
definitely I love connecting with people. So
yeah, I was going to ask. I know there is an actual connection limit on LinkedIn. Have you reached that to where people will have to mostly follow you, or do you still have that coveted room in your?
no, I still have room. Right now, I believe I'm over 16,000
Okay.
followers, but yeah,
All
follow
right.
me, connect with me. I love
You hear
connecting
that,
with people.
people? Like she's not at the 30,000 yet, so
Well,
get in
not yet.
early. Get in early.
Soon, soon.
Yes, yes. That is a point if people are watching and they're like, "Oh, these people, their connections are full." You can always still follow them and then comment on their stuff nonstop because they'll still get to recognize your name. And everybody who follows me for a second knows what I talk about. Go interact with other people's posts. Do it, do it, do it. And you talked about it earlier, like you're putting content out there, and it's like going out into this void where there it is tough when you get no feedback.
Mhm.
Um, it is tough because it's hard to just kind of pick yourself up and like, well, nobody's reading it anyway, and it can get really in our own heads. So,
Don't get discouraged. This is what
mm,
I'll say. If you truly want to write content on LinkedIn, do it. It there is a whole formula again. Um, I really should probably be teaching courses on
yes,
to give all the secrets away. But I will say this, if you truly are passionate and you want to write content on LinkedIn, use other social media platforms. I am new to TikTok, but a lot of people are
me
finding
too.
a lot of success on TikTok. So I would say just go for it. Put yourself out there if you truly want to.
Yeah, I love that. I just started using TikTok. Well, I have had it's the same thing with the LinkedIn. I had an account for a really long time and I would just kind of
Mhm.
post there, but I never learned how do you actually grow there. And that learning that is so much different. And there's kind of no excuse in today's world on finding information on how to grow on any social platform. And I think the secret that I have found that is cross platform is you get back what you put into it. So,
It's so true. I
yeah.
was even giving my doctor advice
Yeah, I know.
about I told him LinkedIn is very different than your content on Instagram. And he's like, well, I have a person for that. I go, well, this is what you need to tell your person. This is what you need to do for you. So,
Mhm. Yeah, and, I also tell people have fun with it and
yeah,
experiment, like, I mean,
exactly.
I A/B test my profile nonstop, and my big criteria is how many people looked at like, how many it used to be when I was employed, how many people looked at my how many recruiters looked at my profile? I just wanna know,
Mhm.
are they seeing it? Are
Right.
they attracted to it? Are they looking? And if it wasn't resonating, I tried something else until it was, and that headline, I'm constantly changing all the time. I'm like, "You know what? Well, this stat's fun, but maybe I should
Mhm.
highlight this." It's okay to change your profile, people.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
or your niche. You can even say, "This niche isn't working. I'm gonna go for this other one." Um, yes. All right, this is where I get to thank you, and, I do have resources on my website, which is just my name.com, and I'm definitely gonna make sure your website is linked off of my website so that we can make sure that people can find you and what resources you have available to them. So, um, yeah, I love to share I like to just share each other's networks and make the best of it. And I always say, if we're not, it may not be my cup of tea, but I'm somebody's kombucha. And I'm like, if you're more of a the joyful recruiter kombucha, then you go follow her and love her content all day long. So thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you, thank you for being here from
My
the day that I sent you
pleasure.
the first message. I'm just delighted that we're at this point. So until next time.
My pleasure. Thank you. And thanks to the audience for joining.
Yes.
Really
Yeah,
appreciate
I
that.
saw a lot of comments. I didn't see questions, so for those that were chiming in, we appreciate it 100%. I love the interaction, and yeah. Until next time, it sounds like we people are requesting already our second live session on finding worth and knowing your worth and negotiating and things like that. So
Let's
Until
love it.
next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have
Yeah,
a great
thank you.
day.
Yes, you too.